None of us can do this work alone. None of us would have the capacity to do so. But when we partner together, it becomes a powerful method for educating our students and providing the next generation of skilled labor for our workforce. So it's the Charleston Regional Youth Apprenticeship Program is really a driving factor in helping our K-12 population achieve these opportunities.
Welcome to the Please Raise Your Virtual Hand podcast. We are so delighted to dive into the exciting, challenging, and sometimes messy world of virtual learning, where nothing is impossible and redefining student success is possible. Low Country Education Consortium aims to open up new possibilities for parents, students, and our business and industry partners as we fundamentally transform learning for students. We will hold your virtual hand throughout this series where we will discuss the world of virtual learning and how we are preparing our students for college, careers, and jobs that haven't been created yet. Virtual learning may be new to you, but it's here to stay. So, let's get started. Hello, we're your hosts, Amy McKenzie
and Matt Novielli.
On today's episode, we will enter the world of youth apprenticeship and dual enrollment through Trident Technical College's Apprenticeship Program. This program allows students to gain work-based experience while they're still in high school. Today, you'll hear from Melissa Stowasser, the Assistant Vice President of Community Partnerships, and Ellen Kaufman, the Youth Apprenticeship Coordinator. Together, we will discuss the impact that apprenticeship has on students, families, and the community. Melissa and Ellen, thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you for having us.
It's absolutely our pleasure.
So before we dive into the topic, could either of you explain to our listeners what the words apprenticeship and dual enrollment mean?
Dual enrollment is an opportunity for high school students while they are currently enrolled in high school to also enroll in college classes at their local post-secondary institution and receive college credit as well as high school credit for the same course. So they're actually taking a college class, but it's counting on two separate transcripts, both to earn their college degree, but also counted towards their high school diploma. So that's what dual enrollment is. Apprenticeship is an opportunity for someone to engage in an educational process where they are not only going to a classroom educational setting to get their training, but they are also employed by some company and they are receiving on-the-job training by a skilled mentor so that what they're learning in the classroom is immediately relevant and they can apply it to what they're actually doing in a career space. It's powerful. And it's exciting. We have been doing apprenticeships with the local companies in our region for over 40 years. Bosch has a world-renowned apprenticeship program, and so they have apprenticeships in the adult space. But back in 2013, we were approached by some of our local manufacturers about actually considering a youth program. And so we created a sector partnership with multiple employers from the manufacturing sector who were all willing to hire 16, 17, 18-year-old students, knowing nothing, and employ them as industrial mechanics. We then put them in our classes at the college, the same exact classes that the adults would be taking, and the high schools transcripted those courses on their high school transcript so that they were earning high school credit as well as college credit while they were working and receiving on-the-job training in that space. All of those programs are registered with the U.S. Department of Labor so that when the student finishes that program, they're earning not only their educational credentials, their high school diploma and a certificate or degree from Trident Technical College, but they are also earning a journeyman's credential from the U.S. Department of Labor, which is a credential that they can take anywhere across the nation to say that they have experienced and have actually succeeded in this particular body of work. So it's a really powerful work-based learning experience that involves all of those components.
Wow.
That's so amazing. And so, as a student, you're looking at something that's going to reduce a lot of time and cost if you're going to pursue something for secondary education. And do you notice that any change, or students more likely for graduation success or to continue education after high school through dual enrollment?
Absolutely. Nationwide, the trend is that students who are enrolled in dual credit are more likely to succeed in completing high school and also pursuing post-secondary education. For the apprenticeship, it even expands beyond that. The students who are in the apprenticeship programs here, and Ellen can give you lots of examples, tend to come back and continue their educational process either with us or they transfer on to other institutions. In many cases, they are still employed by those employers and they are receiving educational bonuses from the employers to provide the training for them so that they're getting it paid for by the employer. For the Youth Apprenticeship Program, we have wanted to make sure that we level the playing field for all students so that every single student in our region has the opportunity to do this. And it's not restricted to only those who can afford the education at the college. And so we have raised funds to cover all of the tuition and the educational expenses for the students. So the students who go through this training program go through this with absolutely no educational debt whatsoever. And at the same time, they are being paid by their employer to learn their craft. So instead of pushing carts out of parking lots at your local grocery store, or stocking the shelves there, or slinging burgers at your closest fast food restaurant, you are actually in the career field you want to pursue, learning that craft and being paid a wage for that educational experience.
That's amazing. And you're getting that experience that typically you would have to graduate and go through your college, and then you start your initial journey into experiencing that workforce. And you're already coming out of high school with about 2 years of experience in a field that you have a high interest in.
Correct. So you're a better employee whenever you are in that first initial stage of learning, right? You are not going through a series of courses and then suddenly coming to work and having to learn how to do it at that employer's institution, or how to put all the pieces together so that it makes sense. In this program, you are actually experiencing that as you are going through that classroom training so that those on-the-job skills are immediately being developed.
I was going to say that, not only are some of these students so much better employees, but they're also economic forces. We've had kids who have been able to buy their first homes at 19.
5 of them.
So entering the real estate market that young, because you are solidly successful in a career, that's huge. If we had one young person who did that, that would be amazing. But as Melissa said, we've had 5 enter the real estate market. We've also had 2 marriages, but we can't guarantee that. We can't say that true love goes along with it. But
it's a bonus, though.
Could be a perk.
It is a bonus.
It is, yeah.
Do you find that a lot of the students in these apprenticeships end up getting careers in the pathways that they're studying? Is it meaningful, and do they find employment immediately after graduating?
They're employed while they're going through the program. Those who have ambitions to go to many of our youth apprentices end up finishing a 4-year degree. Some of the employers say you always have a home with us when you're done. Many of the apprentices stay with their original hiring employer and continue an education here at Tech, and then eventually finish a 4-year degree. So there's no gap in employment unless the apprentice is done with the 2-year apprenticeship and decides to go off to a 4-year. Like we have a young man at Princeton, we have 2 people at Duke. Obviously, they're not going to, be working for their employer. But we have other young people. One young man, he just finished at Clemson. During summers and breaks, he would come back and work for his employer. So this isn't a program that is disconnected from almost continuous employment.
In the first year that we had our IT programs, we had a young man who was a junior in high school, and he was hired by the city of Charleston. He went through the program as a network technician, and immediately upon graduating from high school and finishing the program, there were positions in the city of Charleston for which he applied. He received the job and also received a promotion. He is now a network engineer for the city of Charleston, and along the way, he has completed his bachelor's degree with
Wow.
another institution. So he's a major force to be reckoned with. He's 24 years of age, I think, right now, and a network engineer for the city with his bachelor's degree earned, educational debt eliminated, and just got married. So we're proud of him as well. But we have lots and lots of stories like that of students who have either chosen to stay in that particular profession or use that particular profession to enable them to move on to something else. For example, the young man she was talking about who was at Clemson University started out as a machinist in our machine tool technology program and got his CNC computer numeric no his CAD certification, computer aided design certification, CNC operators certification, and then went on to Clemson University to get his degree in industrial engineering. So he's a better industrial engineer because he understands how to machine those parts, how those parts go together. He can design what that part means and then create it. And so he understands the actual physical aspect of that as well as the theoretical behind the engineer. It's pretty powerful.
That is powerful.
And it's individual.
Yeah, individualized for each student and what path that they want to be on. So you've been mentioning some of the pathways that Trident Technical College offers. I was reading on your website, you have a wide range of different pathways from automotive, pre-nursing, you have cybersecurity, welding. Those are just to name a few. There's such a variety of apprenticeships, and it seems like you have something to offer such a variety of students. What are some of the regional employers that are participating in these programs with you?
Oh, wow. In the health professions, all of our major hospitals, Medical University of South Carolina, Roper St. Francis, Trident Health, East Cooper, they have all employed youth. We have a CNA to pre-nursing program where the students move into the nursing profession. And in that capacity, we have had students who have been employed with all of those, and one who at 16 years of age helped deliver a baby in her very first week at work.
Oh my goodness.
The
Wow.
students are taking CNA and patient care technician training in the summer, and then they are actually starting doing direct patient care in hospitals. So if you are in a hospital in our region, there's a very good chance that a youth apprentice is doing direct patient care with you. So those types of employers, we have very large employers like Boeing and Bosch. We also have very small mom and pop shops. McLeod is one of our absolute best cybersecurity programs out there, and it's a very small company. We have just a wide variety. They are manufacturers, they're in healthcare, they're in IT. We as a college have hired students in both computer programming and also in our culinary area. We have had school districts, the College of Charleston. So it's a variety of employers. Everyone out in our region has some critical need for workforce. HVAC, College of Charleston and MUSC have hired HVAC what would make you think they would be hiring HVAC employees, right? It's not necessarily an HVAC company, although we do have Total Comfort Solutions and several other HVAC industries who are hiring as well. So it's across the board. If there is a critical workforce shortage in our region that leads to a career with a family sustaining wage, we are willing to help build a program that allows the student to be apprenticed.
That's awesome. So basically it's aligning the program to the workforce needs, right? So the workforce is driven by this need, and then creating that pipeline for that workforce. So are these pathways, I guess, or would they be something that's needed now, or is it kind of something that is looked at in the future, like 2 to 5 or so years, that by the time the students are done with this apprenticeship or dual enrollment, that they have that ability to go into that need of a field?
Well, the employers are the ones who actually drive the career paths because they have to be willing to hire and mentor the student. And so usually that means that they have a current critical need in a particular area. So the program really belongs to them. They're the ones who say, this is our need. We want to hire a student. We help them recruit those students. We help with the application process. We submit those to the employers. The employers go through those applications and they actually interview and hire these students. So most notably, we are looking for those careers where there is a job right now and there is a critical need to fill it, and an employer is willing to take on a youth and become a part of the educational process, as opposed to the way we used to do things in the past. In the past, the educational institutions created a product, and that product was a student who then went out and looked for a job. Now, the companies are becoming a part of that educational process. They're no longer the consumers of the product, but they are actually helping to develop a much better product by being a part of that educational process.
And that's why it's so important to have those strong partnerships, right? So it's not only with the schools, but it's with the colleges, the businesses, the students, the parents. I mean, everybody plays their key role in the success of this.
Mhm.
Absolutely. We never, ever, ever call this Trident Technical College's program because it is not. This program was built as a collaborative community partnership, so it requires the business and industry to step up to the plate and say, yes, we want this and we want to employ and mentor these students. It requires all of our school districts to say, we are really on board with this, and they help in recruiting and educating and modifying schedules for students and opening doors for opportunities for them. They are critical partners in that. When we started this, we knew that tuition for dual enrollment was going to be a stumbling block for many students. Our Chamber of Commerce said, we will raise the scholarships and we will pay for it. And they paid every single penny for every student until it grew to the point where it was unsustainable that way. But by then, it was successful to the point that other people were interested. Other philanthropic entities were willing to fund it. We also have a group at the state level, Apprenticeship Carolina, that's part of the technical college system. They're wonderful, and they raise a lot of federal dollars to help us through the U.S. Department of Labor, help us support the students. So we tap into the resources they've generated for us as well. So they're a part of this critical partnership. I can just go on. None of us can do this work alone. None of us would have the capacity to do so. But when we partner together, it becomes a powerful method for educating our students and providing the next generation of skilled labor for our workforce. So it's the Charleston Regional Youth Apprenticeship Program. We also partner with companies to do adult programs, but the Charleston Regional Youth Apprenticeship Program is really a driving factor in helping our K-12 population achieve these opportunities.
And when you look at the big picture of this, these regional employers, they are probably so happy to be part of this partnership because in the long run, you're keeping South Carolina jobs in South Carolina families and in South Carolina communities by having a built-in workforce of these high school students. Now, I have to imagine that your program is pretty competitive because what you've been talking about, it just sounds like a dream. It sounds, kids are getting their high school credits, they're getting college credits, they're getting work-based experience and networking. So you had mentioned that students are actually interviewing and being hired by these employers. Could you tell us what the process is for a student when they enter into your program or they apply in your program?
They do have to complete a multi-part application packet, and that includes a cover letter and a resume and 2 recommendation forms. And they have to provide proof of academic readiness, and that varies with pathway to pathway. There are math requirements, say, for CNA pre-nursing applicants, but there are no math requirements for, let's say, welding. So it varies from pathway to pathway. Our PLTW Engineering 2+2 pathway has the highest math requirements. So it is competitive in that way, first off. And then once their application is complete, they've provided proof of this readiness. It is sent to the participating employers or employer partners. And then these young people have to actually go on a job interview and impress the employer. I mean, what they have to do leading up to even being part of the program, I think is remarkable. I mean, we all know some adults that would find that very challenging. So I do get to work with an extraordinary group of young people. And once they're hired, they either accept or decline the offer. And yes, some kids do decline an offer. They may feel that the company isn't the best fit for them, or it may be a little bit too far away. Transportation remains an issue for some students. That's something we haven't solved yet, but we understand that it is an issue. But most of them accept the offers, and then there's a whole process of onboarding. And I will tell you that many of our youth apprentices are first-generation college students. So I like to meet with them and a parent, but these are people who can be overwhelmed by the college, just the paperwork involved in entering college. So we do our best to walk them through it step by step. And remember, this is a 2-year program. This is not you take one training class and you get a certificate and you're out. This is commitment, where you are taking some really demanding classes for all of the pathways. They're college classes. And my role is to walk alongside them, to shepherd them, to hunt them down when I have to, and to direct them to support services when necessary. So when you say competitive, also I will tell you, the other side of a pathway being competitive, IT, we always have more applicants than opportunities. So many of these kids are interested in an opportunity in the IT field. And I have to say that the IT field is new to the idea of apprenticeship. So we don't have that many opportunities the way we do in healthcare, say, or automotive or manufacturing or culinary.
Our Chamber of Commerce is trying to help us resolve that, to get more opportunities, to get more employers on board, because in order to hire IT, it doesn't have to be a major IT company. You don't have to be a Blackbaud to do this. Some of our best IT apprenticeships have actually been with Heritage Trust Credit Union. They did some amazing work with students. Could be a school district, could be any employer who needs IT work done, right, can mentor a student. So we're trying to open more doors so that we have more opportunities for those students, because it is very competitive right now in that field. The flip side of that is that in other fields like automotive and in our manufacturing areas, in medical office technology, they will snap up every student we can give them. And unfortunately, we don't have as many applicants as we have jobs available. So it's something that we need to solve, just like the transportation issues, and we're working on it.
So since you have such a variety of different apprenticeships available, you must have a variety of different types of students and different types of families that are entering your program as well, correct?
Oh, they're all teenagers. I'll tell you that. Every single one of them. Yes. Some come from well-supported families, and many, many come from under-resourced families. And some of our apprentices over the years, remember, TTC has been an intermediary for these young people since 2014. So we're in 2022. There's been quite a few students and youth apprentices coming through this program, and some have required a great deal of support.
445 until this year, and we have approximately 90 new hires this year already, and we're in the process of being informed by the employers who else is going to be hired and a part of the program. So we hope it will grow a little bit more. And they do come from a variety of backgrounds. We had in our very first CNA pre-nursing class, we had 2 young men from the academic magnet high school, and then we had a young lady from Burke High School downtown. Very different backgrounds, but they were all in the same classes. They were hired by the same employers. They were doing exactly the same work, and they were succeeding at exactly the same levels. So it's incumbent upon us, and certainly Ellen and Ashley, our youth support specialist, both of them really try to do everything in their power to ensure that whatever needs a student has are met. And some are much, much, much more needy than others.
We have had 2 foster children come through the apprenticeship program. And, this is just an example of some of the things. And when foster kids age out of the system at 18, it can be extraordinarily difficult. It is a terribly vulnerable time for them. And both of these youth apprentices left the program once they aged out of the foster care system. And we did everything possible. Everything possible. One lived in a group home. He was much harder to reach, but the company that he worked for, do you remember this, Melissa? It was Bosch. They were going to arrange housing for him. The other young man had been placed with just an extraordinarily wonderful family, but even that did not keep him. Both of them left where they were to go find a biological parent. So that's an example of really extraordinary need, very vulnerable young people, obviously very bright, very capable. I don't know if I'm allowed to say this. We lost a youth apprentice in 2020, and very recently, we've had youth apprentices lose parents, and that's also an extraordinarily difficult thing. So you need to have somebody working with these kids as closely as possible, getting to know them and getting them to trust you.
And you need to design in the opportunity for flexibility in any program like this that allows you to adapt and to meet the needs of that individual student. We've said that this is a 2-year program. It is designed as a 2-year program, but we've had students go through it in less than 2 years because they've mastered everything and completed all their coursework. We've had other students who needed to extend beyond the 2-year period, and maybe it took them 3 years to do it, and that's okay. Whatever resources and whatever configurations that individual student needs have to be addressed in order to ensure that we can take as many of them to the finish line as possible so that they are successful, not just in this program, but in life as a whole.
And that's, yeah, I mean, from everything that you're saying, you have these success stories, you have these heartache things, but at the end of the day, it sounds to me like it's a family, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, you have that care and you have that love for each other, and it goes beyond just a student. You want to see them be successful in life. And, that trickles down to each of those other entities, the businesses, the schools. You guys, I mean, the students see that they can face adversity, they have somebody in their corner, and they realize that these tasks and these things that they face in life, there's ways to deal with it, and there's support on your side. And I think that's huge for students at that age.
It absolutely is. You touched on something that's very critical to that. It isn't just Ellen and Ashley and the Trident team who are working to ensure the student's success. Those businesses and industries are stepping up. We are involving them in issues. They are letting us know when there are circumstances students are experiencing so that we can help. And we're reaching out to the K-12 partners as well. Those school counselors jump on it so that we triangulate around this student rather than letting them flounder. They are smothered with possible help. So that truly, so that we can get them to the finish line. We want to make sure that they succeed.
Yeah, and just like you said about the two students that were fosters, you put them in a place where they were knowledgeable and self-aware to make their own decision, right? They knew they had those options, and they knew they had the support in their corner, but then they took the option to follow what they wanted to do. But they also had the time to think about it and to know that they had comfort in either way.
Yes, they did. They had choice.
Our goal, and when I say our, I mean every educator in South Carolina, our goal is for every South Carolina graduate to be a well-rounded and mature and successful adult. When you look at the profile of a South Carolina graduate, they really emphasize these life and career skills, these things like work ethic and self-direction and those interpersonal and communication skills. And it sounds like your program is a really great way for students to get those skills and to practice it in a real work-based experience.
I believe it is. When you see, especially because it's 2 years, so young people at this age are going to change over the course of, that's a long time in this age group, and you see enormous growth. And it is, I take such pride in seeing it.
We've even had autistic students enter the program who couldn't look us in the eye when they spoke with us very easily, and they certainly were answering all of their questions in the shortest available verbiage that they could, right? 1 or 2 word sentences. And we have seen them grow to the point where they are able to look people in the eye, and they are able to carry on conversations. And it's just amazing to watch that transformation while at the same time they're developing a career specific skill that they can use in the workforce. So that's always powerfully rewarding for us.
So we've been talking a lot about all of the benefits of your program and all of the support and success for these students. I'd like to know, are there any major challenges when you're trying to trying to facilitate apprenticeships for students between the home school, their high school, through Trident, through the employers? How does that work, facilitating all of that?
There are a number of challenges, and I'm going to just throw one out there, and then I'm going to turn it over to Ellen to let her give you several more. But one of the challenges is always managing scheduling, right? They still are in high school. They need to take their high school classes that they have to have for graduation. They are taking college classes. Some of them are lab specific, where they actually have to physically be at the college. Others are virtual. With the virtual programs, it is much easier for us to adjust the schedules so that we free them up to have work time, because that's the third component. They have to have time to be on site at the workforce. And for employers that are only open Monday through Friday, that can be a challenge. For the hospitals and the culinary programs and all of those, it's not as big a challenge because they're working weekends and evenings. But for those that are in the career fields that are Monday through Friday driven, that becomes a real obstacle. So the more we can use virtual education, the more flexible we can become to make sure that the student can master all of those together and that they don't conflict. Ellen, what else?
Absolutely. I have to tell you, I have to second that. When I see that classes are available online for the youth apprentices, I am thrilled. Now, the one caveat is that there are a couple of kids who would prefer in person, which I understand. But most of them really appreciate the flexibility of virtual learning, especially when they have high school and work to think about to balance. Now, I will also say another challenge once they're out of high school, because some of our kids graduate high school halfway through the program, some come into the program as recently graduated seniors, is that if they if they are life eligible and they wish to accept a life scholarship, there are those credit hours that they must meet, that GPA they must meet. That becomes another scheduling issue. And again, if virtual classes are available, that is a huge burden taken off of them. So yes, scheduling, transportation. We make it clear that somebody has to get them if they can't get themselves to work or to campus. If they have to come to campus for classes, they have to have reliable transportation. And some families just don't. So that is an issue that we have been looking at for a few years, and then the pandemic hit, so nobody was really going anywhere all that much. But that's an issue. Mental health.
Because
Mental
there's a
health is
big
huge.
balancing component to your program, right? And
It
we're
is.
talking
It
about
is.
16 and 17-year-old kids. So how do you
Yes.
facilitate those challenges?
Are you talking about just balancing time management, or are you talking about, like, a lot of these kids have anxiety disorders, and they are upfront about it with me, because I do everything in my power to make them feel so comfortable that they can talk to me about it. We have wonderful counseling services here at the college. If they are still in high school, which I love, because then I get to work with the school counselor, and like Melissa said, there's a real wraparound sense for helping these kids. Anxiety disorders, autism, very, very common in our youth apprentices, and they can go to student disability services here at the college and get what's called reasonable accommodations to help them. And I direct many, many of our youth apprentices in that direction. There can be financial issues at home. There can be young people that need to make a certain amount of money because they're helping to support the family. There are, as I said, there are kids who have lost parents even before COVID, and then, that kind of stepped up a bit over the past couple of years. There are kids who have been thrown out of their homes. Like last Monday was, the most recent. Um, so those are some challenges. Just the personal, the individual challenge of helping a human, a young, often very vulnerable human, to get through this.
And that's got to be such a, on the flip side of it, on the positive side, it's such a reward. Like those students that you mentioned that were going to the machinery and everything, to see them be successful and to see them go on, that has to, really truly feel like you're doing your life's work. Like, seeing these kids come out and to be successful.
That's what I live for.
Absolutely.
And then even on the flip side, the businesses are truly benefiting from this because they're training the workforce in specific needs that they have, right? So not only are they learning how to do that skill that's needed, but then they're also learning the workplace culture. So like you're saying, there's a lot of those skills, like soft skills, that come into play that are not the technical skills, the actual doing or physical doing of it, but the things like that time management, teamwork, conflict resolution, all of those things are transferable in any job. And that's kind of the intangible for businesses to know, like, hey, this guy's a team player. we can work with them on the technical side of things, but they really have a motivated attitude. They want to do their work. They get here on time every day. Do you see that as being a big part of what you guys do?
Huge. Well, you know what? They do it on the job. They really do. I mean, we don't have any formal soft skills training. Remember, many, I'm going to say 99% of these kids, to get through a job interview, you have to display some professionalism and soft skills. So do I have to sometimes have a conversation with them? Like, you need to show up on time. If you're not going to be there, you need to call. If you fall asleep at your desk one more time, they're going to make a decision about keeping you. Yes, absolutely. Of course.
And a number of the students are helped by their school counselors or entities within their schools to prepare for those interviews too. They understand the importance of this, and they're working with that student to apply for these programs. And so they are helping them to make sure that the cover letters and the resumes are really polished, and that they do some practice interview with the students. And I think that helps them succeed in that capacity as well. So again, those K-12 partners are amazing.
Mm-hmm. I couldn't do my job.
They're amazing
without the school counselors. Absolutely not.
Melissa and Ellen, thank you so much for your time today. We really appreciate it so much, and I know our listeners will have learned from today's episode. Before we end, is there anything that Low Country Education Consortium can do to help with your program or to help our students who want to eventually explore apprenticeship?
Well, if the students want to eventually explore apprenticeship, they can go to our website and pull down the application. They can contact Ms. Ellen and Ashley and begin the conversation and the process so that we can guide them through that. So that's not an issue whatsoever. In terms of building out strategic partnerships to make this even stronger and more robust, I would say that Low Country Education Consortia and TTC and our local school districts should really work together to build out as many flexible options for students as possible through dual enrollment classes, through K-12 courses that become options for students to allow for more flexible scheduling, not just for apprenticeship, but for any work-based learning experience, because they all have such value. I think that really building out this partnership in a strong and strategic way is going to make a huge difference for not only the region we serve, which is Berkeley, Charleston, Dorchester counties, but for the other counties that are also engaging, or school districts that are also engaging in this partnership with you. We have some great technical college partners across the state, and we can always help to bring them into this conversation as well, and collectively encourage more employers to jump on board to offer opportunities to our students that enable them to become the very best citizens they can possibly become.
That sounds fantastic. If you want to learn more specific success stories from students in this apprenticeship program, make sure to check out the link in our show notes and read all of these awesome, true success stories. Once again, thank you so much for your insight into this world of Charleston Regional Youth Apprenticeships. If you want to learn more about this program, you can visit tridenttech.edu or follow @TridentTech on Twitter. As always, make sure to follow Low Country Education Consortium at LCEC_SC on Twitter. And if you've been enjoying our podcast so far, please make sure to subscribe and give us a great review wherever you get your episodes. This podcast is written, hosted, edited, and produced by a team of educators from the Low Country Education Consortium. Amy,
Caitlin,
Matt,
and Meg
are proud to bring you
Please Raise Your Virtual Hand.